Good evening, everyone. I'm audible. Okay. Thank you. So good evening, everyone. This is Abhishek Gupta, DSC lead. Okay, so today's session is all about artificial intelligence and machine learning. Please unmute yourself. Don't have to open your mic. Please mute yourself. Okay. So is there any reason like we receive only some participation for the artificial intelligence and machine learning workshop? Like you guys are not interested or कि आपको कुछ समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है? That's why you are not here. We have only 37 participants, okay, for this session. There are around 10 and 20 people are from our team. So why like समझ ही नहीं आ रहा? ओके, तो इज इट ट्रू कि अगर आपको समझ नहीं आता है तो आप अटेंड ही ना करो? Because your senior, your batchmates, everyone is trying to give their best so that you can learn. If like अगर आपको समझ में नहीं आता है, but no problem, like you get an idea what is going here, in what topics you have to read, okay. और लाइक मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ, मैं अभी आपको हिंदी में बता देता हूँ. लाइक अभी हमने स्पॉन्सरशिप के लिए कई सारा का बोला था, तो वी गॉट द स्पॉन्सरशिप फ्रॉम डिफरेंट कंपनीज, ठीक है. सो जो विनर्स रहेंगे हैकाथॉन में, जो 27-28 तक चलेंगे और 28 को जो जमा कर देंगे, ठीक. जो विनर्स रहेंगे, मैं एक बार अनाउंस कर दे रहा हूँ, जिसको पता नहीं होगा प्लीज आप अपने फ्रेंड्स को भी इन्फॉर्म कर दीजिए. So the winner of the hackathon, like first, second, third prize, will get the certificate, badges, recognition in our social media. Okay. Apart from that, they will get the T-shirts from Docship and Hackfest, like DSC. Okay, brand new T-shirts. Then keychains. Okay, Hackfest keychains, mask, and there is a company which is Taskgate, which is all about your multitasking thing. Like you can you can search in the Google like what is Taskgate. So they will get the premium membership for Taskgate, like not for the 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, okay, lifetime membership. Apart from that, they will also get the blockchain school, those who want to learn the blockchain, okay. Blockchain schools premium courses free of cost, okay. These all are the winners they will get. And the participants, why? Because I'm saying you must to be participate, because you will also get so many prizes, okay, if you participate in this. Like you will get the egghead course, okay, for the web development part. Taskgate 1 year membership. Then Replit 3, like Replit is a company, they have so many courses and plans for the engineers. So they call this hackers. Okay, so they have the hacker plan which costs around $7. Okay, it is not an Indian company; it is a US based company. So all participants will get the access to their hackers plan. Okay, so we try to get you something like so that you can learn. If you don't understand, no problem. You don't have to be worried about. You have to see what is happening. Then you will get the benefits. Okay. You all are like in first year 500 students, second year 400 approximately. First year, second year से सबको आना चाहिए, ठीक है. I don't suggest those who are interested they can join the session, but I request कि आप अपने फ्रेंड्स को बोलिए कि हैकाथॉन में प्लीज पार्टिसिपेट करें. इफ अगर नहीं भी आए तब भी करें, आए तब भी करें, बिकॉज द एक्सपीरियंस इज वर्थलेस. एक्सपीरियंस जो आपको मिलेगा दे विल रियली हेल्प इन एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ योर लाइफ. उसके बाद हम आप और लाइक वेब डेवलपमेंट अभी किसको किसको सीखना है, लाइक HTML CSS, जिसको नहीं आता उसको सीखने का मन है, किसको? मैक्सिमम को सीखना होगा, ठीक है। तो प्रोगेट एक कंपनी है, दे विल स्पॉन्सर अस फॉर द वेब डेवलपमेंट पार्ट, and they will give 2 days, like 40 hours, and you have to complete half of the courses, then you will get free of cost. Okay, so these are opportunity will came from the Hackfest. So you have to participate, we have the sponsorship, and I think like we are trying that the winners of the Hackfest will also get the prize money. Okay, so ये सब कुछ इम्पोर्टेंट्स है। अगर आप ये सब तो एक देने का हो गया कि व्हाट यू विल गेट, स्वैग्स हो गया, ये सब हो गया, बट अपार्ट फ्रॉम द स्वैग्स यू आर लर्निंग समथिंग। यहाँ आप खाली बैठ के नहीं होगा, उसके साथ साथ वी हैव अ ग्रेट स्पॉन्सरशिप फ्रॉम दी एडुएल्को, आप लोग भी जानते होंगे एडुएल्को के बारे में, ठीक है। तो वो उस एडुएल्को के कोर्सेज बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छे हैं, ठीक है, जो एकदम स्टार्टिंग से करते हैं, तो मतलब एकदम बिगनर्स हैं। तो और ये आप लोग को भी जान के अच्छा होगा कि एडुएल्को कोई बाहर की कंपनी है, सब नहीं है, ठीक है। ये हमारे आपके सीनियर की कंपनी है, स्टार्टअप है, ठीक है। तो वो भी सब हेल्प कर रहे हैं आप लोगों को कि आप लोग कुछ करो तो आगे भी हेल्प होगा, उनका भी होगा, सबका होगा। एंड इफ यू दे विल रियली परफॉर्म वेल, देन आपको इंटर्नशिप भी मिल सकती है। ओके, इट्स ऑल डिपेंड ऑन यू। हम आपको लाइक अगर आप सोचो कि समझ नहीं आया, तो अब ये नहीं हो सकता कि बैठ के कोई चीज पढ़ाने में समय लगता है, ठीक है, 1 हफ्ता, 2 हफ्ता, 3 हफ्ता, 1 घंटे में नहीं हो सकता, बट 1 घंटे में क्या हो सकता है, आइडिया लग सकता है। आप अगर जैसे लाइक मैं बताता हूँ सिंपल सी बात, मैं इसलिए भी थोड़ा 5 मिनट ले रहा हूँ बिकॉज IT स्टूडेंट, IT की क्लासेस चल रही हैं 5 मिनट के लिए, ठीक है। सो आफ्टर देन लाइक वी विल स्टार्ट ऑन 6:45, द वर्कशॉप विल स्टार्ट। जो मेन प्रॉब्लम ये है कि जिन्होंने बोला है कि हमको समझ नहीं आ रहा, ठीक है, नॉर्मल है, कोई बात नहीं, बट सबसे अच्छी बात ये होती है कि अगर कोई चीज़ पढ़ाया जा रहा है, आप अगर उसको पढ़ के आते हो ना, तो लाइक यू हैव अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि हाँ मैं पढ़ के आया हूँ, तो समझ में आएगा कि क्या होगा, तो आप वो पढ़ाएं। फिर अगर आपको उसमें वहाँ पे डाउट लगता है तो आप पूछ सकते हो, ठीक है। जो नहीं पढ़ के आए कोई बात नहीं, आप तब भी देखो क्या चीज़ चल रहा है, कैसे चीज़ चल रहा है, ये भी नहीं है एकदम ऊपर से जाएगा, कुछ समझ ही नहीं आएगा, ठीक है, बेसिक सही है। तो लाइक इफ इन फ्यूचर अगर आपको ये सब पढ़ने का मन करे तो आपको समझ में आएगा कि नहीं ये सब चीज़ें होता है, आपको भटकने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, ठीक है। तो ये सब चीज़ें हैं, ठीक है। सो इसके बात का ध्यान रखना और अपने फ्रेंड्स को भी बोलना। कल लास्ट वर्कशॉप आएगी विच इज़ ऑल अबाउट गिटहब एंड क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग थोड़ा सा, और गिटहब बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छा चीज़ है, ठीक है, बहुत ही ज़्यादा अच्छी चीज़ है। और कल का मैं तो चाहूँगा कि 100 पार्टिसिपेंट रहे, अगर नहीं रहेगा तो फिर आप लोग के ही नुकसान होगा, ठीक है। तो अब स्टार्ट करते हैं क्योंकि हम टाइम भी नहीं है हमारे पास। सो वेबसाइट टीम, यू कैन स्टार्ट दिस सेशन।
Hello everyone, welcome to AIML workshop under Hackfest GGB. Myself, Pranav Rajvi from AIML Club, and I'm a member in DSC GGB. And today we are going to discuss about AIML, about its life cycle of the model, the pipeline of the model, the tools that we use. So, first of all, the one major question that you must have been having is what exactly is artificial intelligence? So, in a nutshell, I can say artificial intelligence is the ability of a digital computer or computer controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. The term is frequently applied to the project of developing systems endowed with the intellectual processes characteristics of humans, such as the ability to reason, discover meaning, generalize, or learn from past experience. Now, let's move to the next slide. Yeah, so we have our table of contents for today as First, we will have a brief insight about machine learning. Then we will move forward to data science. Then we have some topics to learn. Then next, we have some tools and techniques to learn and ML project process, as well as the resources and career and jobs in machine learning as well as data science. So next segment. Yeah. So machine learning. Well, machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. It allows software applications to become accurate in predicting outcomes. You all must be knowing about Google, and Google has already predicted that machine learning is the future, and the future of machine learning is going to be very bright. As humans become more addicted to machines, we are witnessing a new revolution that's taking over the world, and that is going to be the future of machine learning. Now, one more question that must be in your mind is that why to learn machine learning? What are the benefits? Well, I can tell you a few benefits of learning machine learning. That machine learning is directly linked to data science, and you can perform your daily operations or automate your work using machine learning, as well as the jobs that are happening in the corporate world can be done using machine learning. Nowadays, what's happening is that uh, all the companies are using the code which is written by automated. So the human labor is automatically decreasing, and machine learning is helping the automation very much in corporate sectors. The second advantage that you can have after learning machine learning is it brings better career opportunities and a lucrative job offers as well from your desired companies. Now, after knowing why to learn machine learning, let's move forward and see what are the types of machine learning. The first and foremost type of machine learning is supervised learning. As you can see, supervised learning, it is task driven. Supervised learning is the most popular paradigm for machine learning. It is the easiest way to understand and simplest way to implement. It is highly focused on a singular task, feeding more and more examples to the algorithm until it can accurately perform on that task. This is the learning type that you will most likely encounter as it is exhibited in many of the following applications. For example, the advertisement popularity. Selecting advertisements that will perform well is often a supervised learning task. Many of the ads you see as you browse the internet are placed there because a learning algorithm said that they were of reasonable popularity. Furthermore, its placement associated on a certain site or with a certain query is largely due to a learned algorithm saying that the machine between ad and placement will be effective. The second example of supervised learning that I can give you is face recognition and spam classification. Most of the guys, I think so, you must have been using Facebook, isn't it? You can reply in chat. Yeah. So you must have been using Facebook. So most likely your face has been used in a supervised learning algorithm that is trained to recognize your face. Having a system that takes a photo, finds faces and guesses what that is in the photo, suggesting a tag, is a supervised process. So now that we have learned about supervised learning, let's move to the next type of machine learning, that is unsupervised learning. As you can see, the unsupervised learning is mostly data driven. It is absolutely opposite of supervised learning. It features no labels. Instead, our algorithm would be fed a lot of data and given the tools to understand the properties of data. From there, it can learn to group, cluster, or organize the data in a way such that a human can come in and make sense of the newly organized data. Because unsupervised learning is based upon the data and its properties, we can say that unsupervised learning is data driven. The few examples or applications that I can give you about unsupervised learning is recommendation systems. Most of you must have used YouTube and Netflix, isn't it? You can reply. Most of you must have used YouTube and Netflix. So You have most likely encountered a video recommendation system. These systems are often times placed in the unsupervised domain. We know things about videos, maybe their length, their genre, etc. We also know the watch history of many users. Taking into account users that have watched similar videos as you and then enjoyed other videos that you have yet to see, a recommender system can see this relationship in the data and prompt you with such a suggestion. Now, the next application that we have of unsupervised learning is buying habits. It is likely that your buying habits are contained in a database somewhere and the data is being bought and sold actively at this time. These buying habits can be used in unsupervised learning algorithms to group customers into similar purchasing segments. This helps companies market to these group segments and can even resemble recommendation systems. So we learned about supervised learning as well as unsupervised learning. Now let's move forward to reinforcement learning. Now reinforcement learning, as you can see, it is written learn from your errors that you have done in the past or whatever behavior error you have committed, learn from them. So reinforcement learning is fairly different when compared to supervised and unsupervised learning, where we can easily see the relationship between supervised and unsupervised. The relationship to our reinforcement learning is a bit murkier. Reinforcement learning is very behavior driven. Now you must be wondering where is the application of reinforcement learning? So let me give you an example like industrial simulation. For many robotic applications, it is useful to have our machines learn to complete their tasks without having to hard code their process. This can be a cheaper and safer option. It can even be less prone to failure. We can also incentivize our machines to use less electricity so as to have us so as to save us money. Reinforcement learning can also be used in resource management. For example, it can handle the need to balance certain requirements. Take, for example, Google's data centers. They use reinforcement learning to balance the need to satisfy our power requirements, but do it as efficiently as possible, cutting major costs. Now, we have learned about the types of machine learning, and you must have got a little bit of thought about what are its types and how the whole procedure works. So you can give a thumbs up in the chat if you have got it. So now moving to the next segment, we have as data science. As the world is entering the era of big data, the need for its storage also grew. Data science is a blend of various tools, algorithms, and machine learning principles with the goal to discover hidden platforms from the raw data. Data science is primarily used to make decisions and predictions, making use of predictive causal analytics as well as prescriptive analytics and machine learning. Now, you must be wondering what is basically predictive causal analytics and prescriptive analytics. So, let me explain you one by one. So, predictive analytics is if you want a model that can predict the possibilities of a particular event in the future, you need to apply predictive causal analytics. Say, if you are providing money on credit, then the probability of customers making future credit payments on time is a matter of concern for you. Here, you can build a model that can perform predictive analytics on the payment history of the customer to predict if the future payments will be on time or not. So basically, it can work with the help of predictive analytics. Now, coming to prescriptive analytics, we have if you want a model that has the intelligence of taking its own decisions and the ability to modify it with dynamic parameters, you certainly need prescriptive analytics for it. This relatively new field is for all about providing advice. In other terms, it not only predicts but suggests a range of prescribed actions and associated outcomes. The best example that I can give you about the prescriptive analytics here is the Google self-driving car. The data gathered by the vehicles can be used to train self-driving cars. You can run algorithms on this data to bring intelligence to it. This will enable your car to take decisions like when to turn, which path to take, when to slow down or speed up. Like the Tesla company uses it for making the self-driving cars. So the Tesla company uses the prescriptive analytics, machine learning things. So one more question that you might have been having is why to learn data science and why is it beneficial for us in this 21st century? So let me tell you one thing. Data science is a fuel of 21st century. It is the new driving force behind industries data. As a matter of fact, even automobile industries are using data to impart autonomy and improve the safety of their vehicles. The idea is to create powerful machines that think in the form of data. Data science is also the electricity that powers the industries of today. Industries need to improve their performance, make their business grow, and provide better products to their customers. As you all know, the amount of data in day-to-day life of ours is increasing humongously. So, data science can come a very big advantage in the future in 21st century. The next thing that we have is problem of demand and supply. As discussed above, there is a huge abundance of data. However, there aren't enough resources to convert this data into useful products. That is, there aren't enough people who possess the required skills to help companies utilize the potential that data holds. Due to this reason, there is a dearth in the supply of data scientists. Data science is not a standalone field. It is comprised of several subfields. These subfields are statistics, mathematics, computer science, and core knowledge. And let me tell you, the data science jobs that you have as a data scientist or a machine learning engineers are quite lucrative as well. So, uh, good luck on you on that as well. So, moving on to the next slide, we have yeah. So, what are the basically the intersections and the differences between the machine learning and data science? So, uh, as you can see in the Venn diagram, that most of the features of machine learning and data science are intersecting each other. So we can say here that data science is a field of study that aims to use a scientific approach to extract meaning and insights from data, whereas machine learning, on the other hand, refers to a group of techniques used by data scientists that allow computers to learn from data. These techniques produce results that perform well without programming explicit rules. So it is not like that data science or machine learning don't have any limitations. Obviously not. Nothing is perfect in this world, and many things have limitations in this world. So the let me tell you about some limitations of data science here. Though it may sound obvious, data science relies on data. The massive growth of data science was spurred by growth of availability of massive data sets and cheap computing power. Only with these incredible resources in data science, small data sets, messy data, and incorrect data can waste a lot of time creating models that produce meaningless or misleading results. If the data doesn't capture the actual cause of variation, data science will absolutely fail. So now let's move and see what are the limitations of machine learning. Though machine learning may seem like a magical bullet to answer any question, it is not fully powerful. Machine learning algorithms are better than ever at creating useful results with minimal intervention. However, we may still need engineers and programmers to still constrain and optimize these algorithms to make them work on newer problems. So, till now, I think you must have understood about data science, machine learning, what are the differences between data science and machine learning, and what are its similarities. So, kindly give response that understood or not. Okay. So let's move to the our next segment. And yeah, so as you can see in our Venn diagram, uh, that the whole universal set is artificial intelligence. for machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing. So these all machine learning, deep learning, as well as natural language processing are subsets of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is subset of machine learning, as well as it intersects with natural language processing. So you will learn about this in further slides. So let's move to the next segment. Yeah. So no need to get afraid by seeing the diagram. It's all very simple here. Nothing is complicated. So as you can see, uh, inputs are there, feature extraction is there, and the machine is learning and then generating an output as well is happening in deep learning. So I can say that machine learning is a system of algorithms that receives input, produces outputs, then checks the output and adjusts the system's original algorithms to produce even better outputs. One type of a machine learning algorithm is anomaly detection, which looks for events that vary significantly from the majority of data. Machine learning checks the output of its algorithms and adjusts the underlying algorithms to get better at solving problems. Deep learning links machine learning algorithms in such a way that outputs of one algorithm are received as inputs of another. As you can see, the first layer of the network is tasked with only looking for recognizing and labeling dots. When it finds a dot and labels it correctly, it tells the next layer, hey, I found a dot, here it is. That second layer's job is to look for dots that are close together. It receives the news from the first layer and it in turn says, that's awesome. I found two dots that are close to each other. So as long as the uh, raw data keeps supplying from the user, like the inputs to feature extraction, then the machine learning algorithms work and produce a simpler output so that it can be recognized by simple human beings. Machine learns the algorithms and gives the output. So one question must be you must be having in your mind is what we understood inputs, we understood the machine learnings, we understood the outputs. You must be having a question that what is feature extraction? Let me tell you. Feature extraction is a process of dimensionally reduction by which an initial set of raw data in the form of inputs, as you can see in the figure, which an initial set of raw data is reduced to more manageable groups for processing. A characteristic of these large data sets is a large number of variables that require a lot of computing resources to process. Now you must be thinking that, okay, we understood what is feature extraction. Now tell me, why do we use feature extraction? Well, the process of feature extraction is useful when you need to reduce the number of resources needed for processing without losing important or relevant information. Feature extraction can also reduce the amount of redundant data for a given analysis. Like if you have a duplicacy of data in your raw data set, feature extraction, what it will do, that it will filter out the duplicate data and just pass it on to the machine to learn and then produce the outputs for your desired result. So now we have learned about the machine learning and deep learning in brief for initially, and you will be learning it further also in further slides. So now let's move forward to the next slide. We have as yeah the next we have as major components of an AI model. So the major components, as you can see in the screen, is algorithm and data structures, mathematics, neural networks, deep learning, computer vision, NLP. So in future segments, let's see one by one every segment. So moving to next segment, we have algorithms of next segment. Yeah. So moving to next segment, we have is algorithms and data structures of machine learning. So the first algorithm we have is linear regression. So to understand the working functionality of this algorithm, imagine how you would arrange random logs of wood in increasing order of their weight. Imagine, and can you uh, type in chat box? I will repeat my question. How you would arrange random logs of wood in increasing order of their weight? If you have any idea, you can say. Otherwise, I will continue. No issue. Uh, See, there is a catch here. However, you cannot weigh each log. You have to guess its weight just by looking at the height and girth of the log, visual analytics, and arrange them using a combination of these visible parameters. This is what linear regression in machine learning is like. In this process, a relationship is established between independent and dependent variables by fitting them to a line. This line is known as a regression line and represented by a linear equation y equal to ax plus b. Like you have a straight line equation y equal to mx plus c, like you must have learned in your 10 plus 2 classes. So the linear regression model works like that only, in a straight line linearly going up or down. So one example I can give you of example of linear regression is that medical researchers often use linear regression to understand the relationship between drug dosage and blood pressure of patients. For example, researchers might administer various dosages of a certain drug to patients and observe how their blood pressure responds. They might fit a simple linear regression model using dosage as the predictor variable and blood pressure as the response variable. So here linear regression comes into huge effectiveness. With the help of that, we can do this type of uh, example. So the next algorithm we have is logistic regression. Well, logistic regression is used to estimate discrete values. Discrete values usually binary values like 0 or 1 from a set of independent variables. It helps predict the probability of an event by fitting data to a logit function. I think you guys must have learned about independency in probability in 10 plus 2, isn't it? You can say yes or no. uh, how two probability of two events are independent and not independent. So logistic regression works like this in a sort of a similar manner. It is these methods listed below are often used to improve logistic regression, like include interaction terms, like eliminate features, like regularize techniques, and use a nonlinear model. The logistic regression does not use a linear model. It uses a non-linear model to implement on its algorithms. So one example of logistic regression I can give you is that mostly every one of you must be having interest in gaming and playing games. So what is the most best thing that you are looking for while playing a game? For example, if you are playing PUBG, so what is the most good thing that you are looking for? Speed, isn't it? Yes, frames per second. Yes, exactly. So speed is one of the advantages of logistic regression, and it is extremely useful in the gaming industry. Speed is very important in a game. Very popular today are the games where you can use in-game purchases to improve the gaming qualities of your character, or for fancy appearance like you do in your regular games, and communication with other players like many games are there. In-game purchases are a good place to introduce a recommendation system. Like you can I can give you one more example, like Tencent. You must have heard of Tencent. Is the world's largest gaming company. It uses such systems to suggest gamers equipment which they would like to buy. Their algorithm analyzes a very large amount of data about user behavior and gives suggestions about equipment a particular user may want to acquire on the run. This algorithm is logistic regression. And with this help, in this logistic regression comes to a rescue. Now moving to our next algorithm we have is decision trees. Well, decision tree algorithm in machine learning is one of the most popular algorithm in use today. This is a supervised learning algorithm, means it is task driven. So a decision tree is a tree like graph with nodes representing the place where we pick an attribute and ask a question. Edges represent the answers to the question, and the leaves represent the actual output or class label. They are used in non-linear decision making with a simple linear decision surface. Decision trees classify the examples by sorting them down the tree from the root to some leaf node, with the leaf node providing the classification to the example. So I can give you one example of decision tree. Like when it comes to the finance area, decision trees are a great tool to help you organize your thoughts and to consider different scenarios. Suppose you have many scenarios and you have to choose something in your financial area of interest, then decision tree can come to a great rescue for you in choosing that area. Let's say you are wondering whether it's worth to invest in new or old expensive machines. This is a classical financial situation, whether the old or new expensive machine will work or not. So now we moving towards the next algorithm is support vector machines. So SVM algorithm is a method of classification algorithm in which you plot raw data as points in an n-dimensional space. The value of each feature is then tied to a particular coordinate, making it easy to classify the data. One example I can give you of SVM is facial expression and classification. If we make certain facial expressions, it would add the specific filter as per the expression. The range of expression lies between happy and sad. SVM can be of great use here. So if you are happy or sad, so it can identify whether you are happy or sad and it can give you outputs. So now moving to next segment. Yeah, so naive Bayes algorithm. It is an algorithm which classifies and assumes that the presence of a particular feature in a class is unrelated to the presence of any other feature. Even if these features are related to each other, a naive-based classifier would consider all of these properties independently when calculating the probability of a particular outcome. I must be assuming that you must have learned about Bayes theorem in class 12, so you'll get this algorithm as well very easily. So next algorithm we have is K nearest neighbor algorithm. This algorithm can be applied to both classification and nearest and regression problems. Apparently, within the data science industry, it's more widely used to solve classification problems. It's a simple algorithm that stores all available cases and classifies any new cases by taking a majority vote of its k neighbors. So it takes a majority vote of its k neighbors around surrounding it, and it's the majority wins here. Now the next algorithm that we encounter here is k-means algorithm. So it is an unsupervised learning algorithm that solves clustering problems. Data sets that are classified into a particular sets are classified into a particular number of clusters. Let's call that number k in such a way that all data points within a cluster are homogeneous and heterogeneous from the data in other clusters. So this type of algorithms is like forming the clusters and is storing the homogeneous and heterogeneous data from the data assumed from the cluster itself. So the next algorithm we have is random forest algorithm. A collective of decision trees is called a random forest. To classify a new object based on its attributes, each tree is classified and the tree votes for that class. The forest chooses the classifications having the most votes over all the trees in the front. So I think about these 8 algorithms, you must have got something in your brain and you must have understood about it. Explaining all these algorithms very uh, elaboratingly is above the scope of this discussion. So I will leave it here and move to the next segment. Yeah. So now talking about natural language processing, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, which we discussed in previous slide in a Venn diagram. So natural language processing, what does it mean? Natural language refers to the way we humans communicate with each other, namely speech and text. We are surrounded by text. NLP is a subfield of linguistics, computer science, and artificial intelligence concerned with the interactions between computers and human language. In particular, how to program computers to process and analyze large amount of natural language data. The result is a computer capable of understanding the contents of documents, including the contextual nuances of the language within them. So basically, the work of natural language processing is it transfers your language to another source of language. For example, if you are giving it in a speech form, then it will transfer to the text form. Uh, Moving to the next segment, I'll explain more. Yeah. So natural language processing has five segments. Like the first explaining here is managing human computer dialogue system. So, for example, imagine if you are speaking to a computer. For example, if you are speaking to Siri or Amazon Alexa. So it is a type of a human and computer dialogue system, and communication medium is generated when human throws a command to that Siri or Alexa. So then machine perceives that command, and then it processes using the machine learning algorithms that it has been fed up with before, and it automatically classifies the data that is being given by the user to the Siri, and it produces a output which is generated by the algorithms. So it understands the natural language of the user and produces a language which the user wants to know and wants to get from the machine. So now moving to next segment. For one example of NLP is detecting whether an email is spam or not a spam. So here, Gmail uses this technology. Google Mail uses this technology to identify whether an email is spam or not using natural language processing, and it identifies certain text variations uh, in the email as well as the senders and receivers information to generate a gap between spam and not spam messages. Now, next segment. Moving to the next segment. Yeah, how can I forget about Google Translator when I am talking about uh, natural language processing? Google Translator is the biggest example of NLP. Suppose you are trying to convert Hindi to English and you have written a text in Google Translator. So the machine learning algorithms inside the Google Translate uh, uses it, and it produces an English text to so that the user is get desired result from the Google Translate app. And tell me how many of you guys using Google Translate using, and do you know how is it working or not inside, and what are the algorithms that have been using, means which type of processing and all that. No issues, you'll get to learn it. So moving to the next segment. Yeah, so we have deep learning. So deep learning is also an subset of artificial intelligence, as well as it is a subset of machine learning. As you can see, that deep learning mimics the function of human brain in processing the data for detecting objects and making decisions. Now moving to the next segment about deep learning. As you can see in this figure, that the raw data sets are given in the form of a cat and a dog. So the input is being provided, and the hidden algorithms, machine learning algorithms, which have complex mathematical models inside it using statistics and probability, calculates the output and gives it to the uh, desired result. So here, now you must be wondering that what is neural network here. So let me explain you. Neural networks reflect the behavior of the human brain, allowing computer programs to recognize patterns and solve common problems in the fields of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Artificial neural networks are comprised of a node layers containing an input layer, as you can see in the figure, that it contains a input layer, and one or more hidden layers, as you can see, which contains the machine learning algorithms of complex mathematical models, and an output layer. Each node or artificial neuron connects to one another. Each node or artificial neuron connects to one another and has an associated weight and threshold. If the output of any individual node is above the specified threshold value, that node is activated, sending data to the next layer of the network. Otherwise, no data is passed along the next layer of the network. Neural networks rely on training data to learn and improve their accuracy over time. The biggest example that I can give you about the neural networks is Google's search algorithm. You must be wondering that why when you search about anything on Google search it, then why on the first page some things appear and on the second page some other things appear. So it is something to do with deep learning as well, and something to do with search engine optimization as well. So here Google search algorithm is an example of neural networks, how it works. So as you can see in the figure, the dog is classified with the help of machine learning algorithms, and the desired output we are getting on the screen. So let's move. I hope you must have understood about neural networks. Give a thumbs up if understood. It's basically very easy to understand. Yeah, just collecting raw data sets and producing an output using the machine learning algorithms. So now moving to the next segment we have is computer vision. Okay, so computer vision is a field of computer science, as well as it is a subset of artificial intelligence that focuses on replicating parts of the complexity of human vision system and enables computers to identify and process objects in images and videos in the same way that humans do. Okay, so in the same way that humans observe anything, computer vision also observe like that only using some of the machine learning algorithms. So as you can see in these many examples that at so many places computer vision is being used. One example of computer vision is that self-driving cars to make sense of their surroundings. Cameras capture video from different angles around the car and feed it to computer vision software, which then processes the images in real time to find the extremities of roads, read traffic signals, detect other cars, objects, and pedestrians. The self driving car can then steer its way on streets and highways, avoid hitting obstacles, and safely drive its passengers to their destination. Like Tesla. Tesla is, as we discussed earlier about Tesla, self driving cars using the technology of computer vision. Uh, so now computer vision has also been an important part of advance in health tech. For example, computer vision algorithms can help automate tasks such as detecting cancerous moles in skin and images, or finding symptoms in X-ray and MRI scans. Now, moving to the next slide, let's see what else computer vision can do. Next segment. Yeah. So one example is the object detection or image segmentation, as I explained earlier. So image processing algorithms are used to detect features such as shape, edges, or motion in a digital image or video. So in digital image processing and computer vision, image segmentation is the process of partitioning a digital image into multiple segments. For example, pixels, also known as image objects. For example, as you can see in the figure, the cars are marked from green and it is segmented. So we know that these are cars. Okay. So the goal of segmentation is to simplify or change the representation of an image into something that is more meaningful and easier to analyze. Image segmentation is typically used to locate objects and boundaries like lines and curves in images. More precisely, image segmentation is the process of assigning a label to every pixel in an image such that pixels with the same label share certain characteristics. So, object detection is the most important feature that computer vision supports with the help of its algorithms. So, you can do any type of image detection and image segmentation using computer vision algorithms. So, now moving to next example, we have optical character recognition. So optical character recognition is also very beneficial and it is identified using the computer vision algorithms, and it identifies the characters in a certain way using those AIML algorithms. Now, we have discussed all about the computer vision and the computer vision algorithms. So I guess you must have understood what's all about the computer vision. Now, let's move to the next segment we have. Yeah. So now, Shubham will take over from here. So over to you, Shubham.
Hello, I'm
Thank
audible.
you. Yeah, you are.
Okay, sorry for this interruption. Hi everyone, my name is Shubham Vashe. I will tell you about the pipeline of a machine learning model. Pranav already told you what is machine learning, what is the type of a machine learning, what is the branches of a machine learning. Now I will tell you if you have a problem, how you can start. So just look the life cycle of a machine learning model. As you are seeing on your screen, this 4-5 stages of a machine learning model. We have to frame our model, construct the data set, clean the data set, transform the data set, and then train the model. After the training, we have to evaluate our model. So let's go with one by one. So let's see what is framing of a machine learning model. You can do framing of your model on these points. So let's go one by one. What is the articulate your problem? Its simple meaning is that just find the type of your algorithm. Your algorithm can be a binary classification problem, regression problem, multi-level classification problem, or an unsupervised problem. So for example, if you want to predict whether an email is spam or not, this is your binary classification problem. Or you want to predict price of a house, this is your regression problem. Or you want to predict a video is good, bad, or excellent, this is your multi-level classification problem. So first of all, you have to find your problem. What is the type of a problem? After finding the type of your problem, you have to identify your data sources. What is the meaning? Its meaning is that for your trained model, for your ML model, what type of data you need. If you are doing object detection, you have to think about the images of an object. If you are doing an image classification, mail classification problem, you have to collect the mail. So you have to think about the data. And you have to also think about the output of the data, what type of output your model will predict. After the identification of data set, you have to design your data set. Designing means you have to think about how your machine learning model will take the data. It can't take the string data. So you have to think about how you can change your numeric your data into which data in which your model will take the data. And you have to also think about in what format your model will give the output. After doing this, you have to determine the sources of your data set. Okay, you have to determine the sources of your data set. What is the mean? Its meaning is that where you can find your data. If you are working on a new problem, you have to find the data by manually. If you are working on an existing problem, you have to find the data on internet. You can find the data from internet. There are many sources available. After doing this, you have to think about the easily obtained inputs. Its simple meaning is that you have to find which input you get easily. For example, in the house predicting price, you can get the size of a house easily. So you have to think about this. After this, you have to think about ability to learn. Its simple meaning is that is your model learnable or not? Is your model learnable? Then when you are training your model, what type of problem might occur? Just like you have low number of training examples, you may have noisy levels, you may have corrupted data. So you have to think about this. This is all about the framing your problem. After the framing, you have to construct your data set. So what is data construction or a data collection? Data collection is a process of gathering and measuring information on targeted variable in established manner. It's simple meaning. Let's get an example. You are alone at your home and you want to make a dish or a food or anything for you. So what you will do? You will just go to the market, collect the vegetables and raw material, ingredients, and all other stuffs. So as same in machine learning, before training the model, we have to collect the data. if we are doing a email spam classification problem, we have to collect the spam email and non-spam email. If we are doing an image classification problem, we have to collect the images. This is simple data collection. And you can also collect the data by manually, as I already told you. You can find your data set from Kaggle. Kaggle is one of the biggest platform for data science and machine learning problems. You can also find your data set on UCI machine learning repositories. And one of the most important thing for data collection is you have to collect the data according to your problem. You are collecting a data, one problem, your data is much similar with your problem. After constructing the data, you have to clean the data. So what is data cleaning? Data cleaning is the process of preparing data for analysis by removing and modifying data that is irrelevant, incorrect, incomplete, improperly formatted. It's simple meaning. You have collected the raw material and vegetables and or other stuff for your food, which you are going to prepare. So now you have to wash all the vegetables, collect the ingredients, all this stuff you are doing in cleaning process. As similar in machine learning, we have to collect the raw material. For example, you are collecting the data manually and you are going to someone, please give the answer in yes or no, and he doesn't want to give the answer. So you have missing values in your data. So you have to either fill the missing values or you can remove it. This is one of the most important stage of a machine learning model. And in this process, you have to explore your data set. How many number of training examples in your model? How many labels in your models? All this stuff. You can use Python libraries just like Pandas and NumPy. This is a standard library. After cleaning the data, you have to transform your data set. So what is data transformation? The basically definition of a data transformation is the process of converting data from one format to another, typically from the source system into the required system. Basically, you have washed your vegetables. Okay, now you have to cut the vegetables for making the dish or making the food. So in machine learning, we have to transform our data set. For example, we are doing a spam classification problem. We have data in which mails have punctuations, comma, and many more things. So you have to remove all these things, and you have to transform your data in which form your model can take. For example, your data can have some categorical features, so you have to transform it into numerical features. You can also use some Python and Pandas library for data transformation. After transforming the data, you are ready to train your model. So what is model training in machine learning? Model training in machine learning is the process of feeding algorithm with data to help identify and learn good values for all attributes or all your features. Basically simple. Use your stuff. Use your vegetables to prepare the food. It is same. In machine learning model, you can also use some machine learning algorithm. You can either use deep learning algorithm. You can use linear regression, logistic regression. All the algorithm you can use. You can also use some Python libraries for training your model, just like sklearn and TensorFlow. I will tell you about the sklearn or TensorFlow and later in the course. After training the model, you have to evaluate your model. What is meaning? You have prepared your dish. Okay, now you will taste it, whether it is good or not. Good, how is good, how in which amount it is good, if bad, in which amount it is bad. So you have same in machine learning. After training the model, you have to evaluate your model, whether this model you are good or not, doing the work according to you or not. So model evaluation is an integral part of a model development process. It helps to find the best model that represent your data and how well the chosen model will work in the future. For the evaluation part, you have to think yourself, which is the best condition for your model. For example, if you are doing an email spam classification problem, your model is predicting image is spam, but it is not spam. Okay, here you are losing your information because you want to read the email, but your model predicts spam email. So you are losing your information. Just like you can evaluate your model by yourself. After this, we will see the demo. So what is our problem? Our problem is we want to predict the model. We want to the model to predict whether a cat is in the image or not. So first of all, we have to frame your model. What is our problem? Our problem is a cat classification problem. So it is our binary classification problem. After this, we have to identify data. My data is this image form where I will give the image and model will predict whether cat is in the image or not. Okay, after this, we have to design our model. So designing, I have to change my image into a matrix in numeric form. After this, source of my data, my source is internet. I can find the cat images in internet, or I can also click the images, cat images by manually. After this, my ability to learn. This is a problem where a model can learn. Okay, so let's see how I can represent my image. So basically, we will see what is model architecture. This is the architecture of our model. We have one input layer, we have two output layer, and two hidden layer and one output layer. It is basically a deep learning problem, deep learning solution, deep learning model, neural network. It is a neural network. Okay. Now we will see how we represent our image. Basically, our image is represented in a matrix format. Every pixel has its number according to the brightness of a image. So every image we can represent into three channels: red channel, blue channel, and green channel. So we will represent it. Okay. After this, we will use a TensorFlow library for development for training our model. So now let's see how we can train our model. So I have to reconnect it. Just give me 1 second. So I have to collect the data. So I have already downloaded the data set from internet in my local directory. So I have to import it. Okay. So this is my data set, train data set. Okay, I think it is uploaded. Okay, I think it is uploaded. Okay. So first of all, I have imported all the libraries which I will use in the training our model. So this is a pandas library I have imported for data cleaning and data transformation purpose. I have also imported the NumPy libraries for data cleaning or data transformation. I have also downloaded the Matplotlib library. It is a data visualization library. I have imported the H5 file library because my data is in H5 format. I have also downloaded the TensorFlow library because I will use it for the training our model. I will use the TensorFlow's Keras API. Okay, so I have downloaded two functions, layer function and the sequential model. So I will run it. Okay, now my lab. Okay, now I will load my data set. This is function. Okay, now I will find my data set. I think it will take some time. No. Now I will exploring my data set. So my data set has 209 images, 209 training examples, 50 testing examples, and my image size is 64 by 64 by 3. Means 64 pixel and 3 is red channel, blue channel, and green channel. Okay. Now I will visualize my images. Okay. In this image, cat is here. Cat is present or not present. In two images, cat is present. Okay. So now I will transform my data set. I have a 3D data set, 3D input. So I have to transform into a flatten input for training the model. Okay. Now I will train my model. I have initialized my model. I have choose the parameter, and now I will train my model. Now my model is trained, which has 99% accuracy on training data. Now I will check the accuracy on test data, sorry. Now it's time for prediction. It has 72% library. It is very much poor because I have low number of training examples. Now I will predict. It will predict the right output. My correct level is 1 and it is also predict the 1. Means cat is in the image. Okay, so that's how you can train your model. After this, let's go to the next portion. Career and jobs. If you have learned all these stuffs, where you can find your job? You can find your job as a statistician, data scientist, data engineer, data architect, data analyst, ML engineers. Statistician will do some statistics work. Data scientist will do analytics work. Data scientist will tell what is the pattern of data, what is the insights in the data. Data engineers collect the data. Data architects made the architecture of the data. How will data come? And ML engineer will train the algorithm. Now let's go for resources. You can learn ML from Coursera and Udacity. There are many courses. You can also listen podcast. You can see the research papers, and there are some also organizations which are working on आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस. ओके. और हाँ, एक बात और, अगर किसी को ये लगता है कि ये कुछ समझ में नहीं आया तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. ये सबके लिए नया नया होता है. सो एक बार में किसी को समझ में नहीं आता, और आपको अगर 10% भी समझ में आया ना, तो आप मोर देन एलिजिबल हैं AIML पढ़ने के लिए. ठीक है. दिस इज ऑल फ्रॉम माई साइड. आई वुड लाइक टू कॉल अभिजीत त्रिपाठी. ही वांट टू से समथिंग.
Hey guys, so am I audible? Yeah. Thanks, Subham. Am I audible?
Yes.
Someone please.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Subham and Pranav for this awesome session. Now you guys may be thinking that everything is ended. We have learned nothing from this session because things are quite. The previous screen, sir. Show it again. Subham, please show your screen. He's asking something. After that, I will take over. Subham.
Okay, I am presenting.
Yeah, the screen will be available for 2 minutes. If you guys want to ask something, you can ask to the AIML team. After that, I will take over.
Ask. If you have any question, you can ask. Done, sir. Okay. Now you can come.
Okay. Yeah. So in the last screen, Subham has shown something that there are many job opportunities for all the people who are learning machine learning, artificial intelligence, statistics, mathematics, and a lot of stuff, including software development engineering, which is also in which also you have to use some machine learning. You don't have to create your own algorithm. You are going to use the libraries that Subham has shown, like scikit-learn and TensorFlow and all of this stuff. But the thing is, how you can secure a job option, or what is the procedure to get into the machine learning thing or the AI industry. So the procedure is to find good opportunities. Now again the question comes, how to find good opportunities. Like in our industry, there is a very traditional thought that BTech people, bachelor in technology people, can't do advanced stuff in machine learning and artificial intelligence, and it is quite evident because we do not have that much knowledge theoretically. Using library you can do anything, but theoretically developing something new, that is not possible for any BTech people. Normal BTech people, I'm saying. Exceptions always exist. So the thing is how to secure a job, because many startups are coming in India who are actually giving out a lot of job opportunities. So I'm going to show you some platform today. The platform name is Docsip, and they are our sponsors too. And I'm a director there for their strategic sale. So we are present in India currently, and recently we went into Singapore for all our company stuff. So I will just show you what Docsip is and how you guys can take benefit from it, because it's free, almost free. So there are no charges that you have to give. Uh, so companies are going to hire you only if you perform well. So I am going to share my screen. Someone from the AIML team or core team of DSC GGB, please confirm if my screen is visible. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Great. So this is the platform. You can go to. I'm just dropping the link so that you guys can know what exactly the platform is, because you guys should visit the platform. Okay, it's free and you don't have to pay anything. The thing is, this is the first growing developer community. Previously, we were focusing on data science and AI basically, but nowadays we have gone to full stack development, and we are coming up with Android development as well. These are our internal stuff that I'm saying you. These are not yet out. I think the full stack development is out. So I'm going to show you. In the left side, you can see there are different challenges going on, like the hiring challenge, the community challenge, the practice challenge. There is something called as employability index, something called as articles, something called as hall of fame, something called as pre-10 models, and something called as jam. So I'll be explaining you what all these stuff, because these are our sponsors and they are sponsoring us, so you guys can take benefit from us. I mean, I'm also a part of Doxit, so you can take benefit from us. So now the question is, what is a hiring challenge? Okay. So now companies, previously what happened, many companies were hiring on the basis of interviews, but the performance of people were not exactly judged while taking an interview, because if someone is theoretically correct in machine learning or data science, then he can clear the interview. But you need to be practically more comfortable or practically uh, more experienced in building the models. You can't always use the libraries like scikit-learn, TensorFlow. You have to build your own models, train your own models, and build your own neural links and all those stuff that AIML team has shown you. So now the thing is, the companies have started giving out different challenges, and one who performs well, they will be taking them as their intern or as their full-time opportunities. Okay. So now the thing is, you can see here we have four tracks basically. These Android iOS are these are mobile app development tasks. I don't know if these are out yet. These are not out yet. This is out after some days, like I said. In the full stack part, we have discussed in the website Android. I mean the session that what is this full stack. In the data science track, you can see this is a company. So what this challenge look like? This challenge look like Stylomia demand forecasting hiring AI challenge. The aim of this challenge to forecast demand and inventory with a given data set. Okay, so now you have to understand what is this demand and how to forecast it. So this takes a lot of experience to actually. Subham has said that in the first point that you have to articulate the machine learning algorithm. You have to understand what type of algorithm is going to be applied to this demand forecasting. So that thing is actually a little bit difficult at first, and as a beginner, you can't just can't just predict that. So that takes some experience. So here we have you have given. Give me 1 second. I'm just closing something. Okay. Now here in this, I mean in this challenge, you have given all this stuff. What this stuff? The competition is for I mean the basic details of this stuff, and there is submission guidelines like how you have to submit. You have to submit the output.csv. CSV is comma separated value, and all the machine learning all the predictions will be stored in a Excel like file. Okay, you have seen the Excel like file. I mean, if you are using Google Sheets or something, CSV is a little bit different than Excel, but works uh, similar to Excel. So that you have to upload the final CSV file, and after that, our algorithms on this Docsip will work, and your score will be calculated. What type of score? Now you guys have the next doubt. What type of score will be calculated? That is called as the accuracy score. How accurate is your model in order to predict the problems? I mean, in order to solve the problem statement. Okay, so you have seen the uh, theoretical aspects of AI ML in the session. Now I am telling you from a problem solving aspect. Like many of you guys are competitive programmers, you are solving problems using data structure algorithm. Likewise, we can solve machine learning problems which are actually, which is actually a very great field in the software industry nowadays. Every company is going for AI automation and all the stuff that Pranav said. So you guys should understand. Actually, try to understand. Do not you don't need to just go there and participate here. I'm just telling you how to understand. you have to generate the output CSV file. Now we have discussed in the session that we have something called as input, and we have to divide that input file into training and testing data, and sometimes we divide that into three parts: training, testing, and validation. So now training data is given here. Like you see, train.csv, this is also a comma separated value type. Training data, I mean, the machine learning model works on data sets. If you don't have the data, you have to collect it, as Subham said. You have to collect it either from internet or you have to collect the data. Okay, collect the data manually. You have to collect all the data manually if you are solving some new problem. So now the train data is given. You don't have to divide that because test data is also given. Okay, this is the test data. On test data you have to make the prediction. On train data you have to make the model. You have to train the model in such a way that it can predict something on test. Okay, so now the things are becoming clear from a problem solving aspect. Like you have the train data, you have to prepare the model on the train data, and for that you have to follow the steps. The steps are you have to perform data analysis first. You have to see how your data is distributed. Sometimes the data is distributed in a different way and you can't put every type of algorithm there. Sometimes the decision tree will not work and you have to go for naive Bayes. So how to know which algorithm can't work on this data set? So that can be done from data analysis part, and all the stuff that pipeline has been explained by Soham. So that is something you have to do, and after you train your model, you have to do that on you have to run that, or you have to run that model on your test.csv, and after that you will get some submission. Okay, I mean not the submission, you get the output and you have to submit the output for the submission. The output will be in output CSV, like the test CSV and input CSV. So if you submit that, our algorithms on Docsip, like we have something called as we use AWS basically, and we have some S3 container where we perform all this stuff. So you may not know what is S3. I just said that. So the data has given some attributes like sales, QTY, and NSV. All these things have been explained in the dataset. Actually, these are this sales QTY is one of the attribute, and NSV is one of the attribute. Like you can see, you may not have to perform feature engineering here. Why? The features are given, or you may have to perform because you see the sales QTY is almost one in all these cases. So that thing can only be done by some experienced people, and this is also a problem of difficulty hard. So there's something, a catch is also present. So you have to, okay, this is given in the test data, test.csv. I mean, if it is given in the train, then you may not have to perform feature analysis. If it is given in the test.csv, you have to perform feature analysis. For that, the given attributes are like this: unique transaction ID and all the stuff. I mean, I'm just giving you an overview of the platform. This is the platform where you can just practice your machine learning skills. Now, do not go for hiring challenge. You are a beginner, right? Even I'm a beginner in machine learning, I can say. So do not go for hiring challenges because most of us can't solve them. Go to community challenges, and Docsip gives out the community challenge. Like you can see, there is a hefty amount of prize for all the community challenges. Like you get a lot of t-shirts, you get a certificate, and also you get something else. Like here you can see in our platform we use some digital currency, like that is the James. And when you participate in this boat type classification, AIHLA am challenged to classify images into given types of boat. Okay, so this is a multiple logistic regression problem at first. When you see this at first, this is a multiple logistic regression problem, but there can be other algorithms applied if you see the data set properly. Okay, so now the classes are given here: ferry, boat. These are the classes you have to divide. I mean, suppose you are given one example, like you have seen the cat and dog example. You have to divide that in cat or dog. Likewise, you have given some boats example, and you have to either classify that in this 9 classes. Okay, so that is a multiple logistic regression problem. But in multiple logistic regression, there are some drawbacks. Okay, which we will not be discussing. So I'm just giving you the overview. So this is the submission guideline given here. So these are the basic easy challenges which you can do only by performing some basic manipulations of the data. You don't need to be the I mean, we have a leaderboard as well, where you can see who are performing well, who are getting the best. I mean, you see Aditya Gupta has performed well. He's one of our best. Best data scientist, I can say. He always tops the leaderboard many times. So in the leaderboard also, you can come in the leaderboard. You can come to the Hall of Fame. Like if you are doing performing well, then you can come to the Hall of Fame. So notebooks. If you guys want how others have solved the problem, you can go and see the notebooks here. Like the notebooks are available here. Let me check if that is available for viewing. Okay, so like you can see, the notebook is available here. Half the notebook is available here. No, the full is available here. So the notebook is available. Like you can see, the .pg, .jpg. These are all the given testing data. Okay, here use the submission, and we have performed this on each model. So you can check that if you want to learn, because that will be a very good practice for you to see how toppers or how other people are solving a problem. Okay. Now there are community challenges you have understood. There are practice challenges. These are the starting point, I can say. So someone like us always start with this practice challenges. So you can see this is by Unreal AI, I guess. This company is Unreal AI. Okay, Unreal AI is the parent company of Docsip. Like we all are the workers of Unreal AI. Docsip is our community. So, fashion amnesty classification challenge. You guys know. Someone asked in the chat section, I've seen that what is fashion amnesty. So, if you know what is fashion amnesty, you can just go and solve this problem. It's not like you have to be the topper. And what is the prize? Top three participants will get place in the Hall of Fame. There are other prizes as well. Like I'm going to show you. Wait. Here are the prize for that. Like you can see, if someone is going to rank one, then he will be getting 500 gems. Now we will be thinking, oh, what about these gems? Why they are important? I will show you an amazing feature of our platform. Like you can see the employability index. Now, what is this? What is this employability index? All the hiring that is done on Docsip is based upon employability index. If you have a good employability index, then there are higher chances that you will get hired. Uh, I mean, how this employability index is calculated and what is that? So now I'll be showing you something. So this is our employability index report, and it's a sample. This Cooper is an imaginary person, and he stays in New York, United States. So it shows that his employability index is at 8.7 on a scale of 1 to 10. Now in the strong areas, it's written here because he has it's written here because the group of interviewers at Docsip who manually interview all the candidates before giving any EI employability index. So they have just given this to this candidate that during this interview the candidate showed excellent communication skills. Like I will show you how the steps are done and how this is given. Okay, if someone is giving this from your Docsip, then you have higher chances that you will get hired. So what type of improvement is required? Most of the companies do not give you some a feedback. There is no feedback mechanism in most of the company interviews. Like if you are googling, if you are interviewing with Google, they send that please apply for the next time. And if you are if you are interviewing with Facebook, they also send the same. But they do not tell you where you need the improvement. If you do not know where you have to improve, you can't get hired after some days, or you have to do a lot of work in finding where you want to improve, where the improvement is required. So the experts at Docsip has this requires improvement points. Just read it out and give me 1 minute. Great. So am I audible? Please write in the chat section. I want to see if you guys are active. Are you understanding what I'm saying about the platform? I mean, if the platform is okay. Okay, so requires improvement. Improvement requiring some mathematical research regarding the techniques used. One thing I must say you that if you are aiming for AI/ML jobs, then try to perform research. And research should not be like you are performing on something bigger. Start with very small research type aptitude, like how to write research papers or how to read a research paper. That is also a big technique. Many people do not know. They just read that like a book. It's not like that. You do not read that like a book. It has most of the research paper do not contain code. As a programmer, you will be thinking that research paper will be coming up with a lot of code. It will not be coming up with a lot of code. There will be a lot of theory. Why this research is required? Like I said, you can use scikit-learn and TensorFlow in whatever places you require it, but that is not the final, because most of the companies that do not use, they try to use their own models. They try to implement their own algorithms which work according to their product standards. So these things require a lot of research, and mostly startups like this. I mean, if you are applying for in the startup, then you will be getting a lot of lot of payment, a lot of money. But for that, you have to do some research work as well, because they will not be hiring you otherwise. Or if someone is trying for HD, then also it's okay. You don't have to perform that much research, but you have to use the libraries, that is scikit-learn, TensorFlow, and all other libraries that are available. So this is for requires improvement, and suited for ADA. It's called as exploratory data analysis. It is the third step of building a machine learning model. The first step is to, that Shubham has said, articulate the model. I mean, if you have to try which algorithm is best suited, do not try to check only one algorithm. Like I said, multiple logistic regression is great, but it has some drawbacks. So try to take one algorithm which do not have that type of drawback, like decision tree. But decision tree takes a lot of memory space. I mean, it requires a lot of resources in your system or in the server that you are running. So you can take other algorithm as well instead of that. That is a naive algorithm. So you can take that. But now the question is how to know which algorithm is better and which algorithm is not. For the same reason, I have said that you have to perform some research. You have to read the basic research articles which have implemented this algorithm. Like many years ago, these research articles have been published and they are available online, available for free on internet. So EDA is the exploratory data analysis, where you have to analyze the data. You have to exploratory means you have to make some graphs, you have to make some figures, you have to make some the pictures, you have to make some pie charts and all other stuff which can explain the model better, not the model, the data better, so that you can know what the data lacks and what it has actually for the development of the model. And computer vision, that Pranav has explained what computer vision is. Computer vision means give an eye to the computer so that it can see and it can identify what it is saying. One of the best implementation of computer vision also has said that the face recognition system in your mobile. So that is one part of computer vision. Other part is also there, like in the traffic system, they are identifying helmet checking nowadays. In my state, at least, they are doing that using the CCTV cameras and a software at their at their cyber labs. So that is something, an application of computer vision. So he is better for the ADA and computer vision. So now, how this is calculated? Like you will be saying, there can be some bias. You will be saying that if someone is working on Docsip like me, then I will have a better employment index because I'm working here. It's not like that. You have to give your resume because, and one thing I must say you, that resume is not that much important. Because why? Because the recruiter only spends 6 to 15 seconds on your resume. So just mention the important stuff in a proper manner. Like I will show you my resume as well here after some time. That is my 6-month-old resume. So you can see how to represent your skills that you have. And the resume score 80%. This is calculated by some algorithms that you are performing at the backend, which I can't explain you or can't tell you because of some. I have also some duties for the profit. I can say you. LinkedIn and GitHub. These are two important things. GitHub, you guys may know what is GitHub and what is LinkedIn. We have been telling you from the first day that try to be active on LinkedIn. So recruiters go into LinkedIn. Like I'm very much active on LinkedIn, and every day, almost every day, I'll get a lot of messages from a lot of people, which includes some of the India's best entrepreneurs and some of the India's best developers. Okay, so that thing is only possible if you're active on LinkedIn. So that profile is directly taken into consideration in so many cases. Like recently, our startup has been, has been got enrolled into AWS Activate program, which is for the startups. Right? In that program, they did not ask for my resume; they directly asked for my LinkedIn. And after 2 days, I have just got a review that we have been accepted into the program. In that program, AWS, Amazon is going to help us in a lot of stuff. So, including the cloud deployments and the cost-effective things, including $1,000 of sponsorship, and a lot of other stuff which they are giving. So LinkedIn profile is very much important. So these two profiles, the 80% and 90%, this will be taken from the profiles and resume respectively. Then after that, it comes the Doxy profile. I'll show you the Doxy, how the Doxy profile looks like. Okay. Uh, my profile is visible or not? 1 second. My profile is visible or not? Someone write in the chat section. Ankit, you have asked something, maximum number of people in one team. What was it? I did not get that. What team? Okay, let's move further. Like the profile, you can see this is the level. Because I don't participate in Doxip, I have the 2 level, but I've seen people having 15 or 16 levels. That profile is, I mean, they are the first profile to get recognized. Because I'm not going for the hiring challenges, I'm not participating. That's why my bronze is only of level 2. So that is something. Second thing is the EI, employability index, will be mentioned here. I've not taken the EI score yet. So that's why it's not mentioned here, but it will be mentioned here so that recruiters, I mean, those people who hire for the industry, they will be taking this into consideration. Like you have the work experience part, which is also present on LinkedIn. Like I'm the director of strategic skill at Doxit, so that is present here. That is something. Certificates are important, but only they are only important if you are not doing that only for the certificates. I have a lot of certifications, I have a lot of certificates, but I've done that for the learning. So try to do that for the learning, and that doesn't matter properly if you are doing a certification course or you are learning from YouTube or you are taking some classes like we do at Edwilgo. So you can do anything. So the thing is, these are the badges that I've earned. These are not very much because there are a lot of pages. I will also show you. So this is the profile that is taken into consideration. That is given 100% profile score, and this profile score is taken from the Doxit profile. Okay. Then after that, there is some interview analysis, and these things are actually important. It's similar for all the interviews. The last point is only added. That is not for the already interview. That is for the MLAI interview. Okay. The technology skills. This include your Python skills. If you are applying for machine learning, then most probably you will be working with Python. There are other languages like R, and some big companies also work in C++ as well, but that is not pretty traditional. So people work with Python. That is your technology skills. There are a lot of questions that can be asked in Python, which is in accordance with the machine learning and AI part. There are soft skills. Soft skills like your communication skill. I have seen many good developers, many good programmers can't communicate their idea properly. That is a big minus in your case if you can't communicate your idea properly to the recruiter. Because in company, when you go to some company, when you go to some startup, people will be communicating idea most of the time. The coding work happens at the last. That is the last step. Coding work. That is the exactly last step. Before that, a lot of communication happens, a lot of product development deployment happens. So that thing is necessary. Like you can see now, the skill is visible, I guess. Technology skills, soft skills, problem solving. This can be in MLAI interviews. The problem solving is not taken directly from data structure algorithms. There are some questions from DSA or CP, you can say, computer programming, and some questions mainly focus on basics of machine learning. Like you have given the data of suppose you are given the data of Big Bazaar of 1 month sales. Okay, 1 month sales data. So now I'll be asking you what type of algorithm you can apply for the sales data. So you will be telling me about that and your approach as well. That is the problem solving part in machine learning. Like competitive programming, there is also problem solving in machine learning. So it's something similar. And the research aptitude, I always say that this is the most important part. In ML AI, if someone is not researching, then you should not pursue this career option, because every day a lot of research is coming in AI ML. Even if you are working in some startup which provides AI services, then you may have to automate the stuff for the same company. So you should learn something about research aptitude, and this comes with practice. And I'm not the best person to advise you regarding research aptitude, because I have not done that. So it's out of my level. I can say out of my. I mean, I don't know how to do that. But okay. what is your EI score means? Like if your EI score on a scale of 10, if it is 1 to 4, then you need improvement, which you also know that you should need. My current score will be in this region, I say. So I need improvement. So the moderate skills, that means you are in the 5 or 6. It's not like no one will be hiring you if you are needing improvement. If you have moderate skills, some startup can hire you. If you are ready for opportunities, then also some startup can hire you. And if you are industry ready, big startups will hire you. Like in Doxy, we have seen a lot of packages are coming, which are very lucrative, I must say. I mean, you guys need to practice a lot, but you will be getting a lot of packages if you are coming through Doxy. Other companies are also there, but they will not be providing so much package for the people who are taking the company interviews. Okay, now at the scale of 10, you are the master. So this is very difficult to achieve, but it's okay. How the employability index is calculated? It's given here so that you can view this PDF. It's also available in the website. PDF. This PDF is available in the website. I will show you where. So mm, now you have learned something about the employability index that our platform provides. So it's a very good thing that our platform provides. Employability index, it's a new thing actually. So to take the employability index test, you should have 1450 gems. Okay, like you can see currently I have only 500 gems, so I can't take this test. But I can take this test if I participate in the hiring challenges or community challenges. Because as you see, in the community challenges, the prize section, one second. The price section, if you are coming with rank 1, you'll be getting 500 gems. If you're coming with rank 10, you'll be getting 50. So you have to practice. And this is a very good methodology. Why? Because if you can't practice well in the community challenges, then there are certain things that you can't clear in the interviews. Like if someone is asking for problem solving, you can't do that. So first, participate in the community challenges, get some gems. You can also get the gems by paying some money. But I should, as an I'm also in Doxip. I also know that you should pay some money for the gems, but I should tell you that do not pay the money now. Try to participate in the community challenges. Try to participate in the team challenges that are coming on Doxip. So so that you can get some gems, so that you can practice by yourself. Now the third thing is articles. We launched that 2 months before the article part. Like you can say real time sketch with OpenCV. Okay. Now this OpenCV is Open Computer Vision. This is an open source library which is used for computer vision. Okay, computer vision means giving an eye to the computer. Like you have seen, your photos can be uh, your photos can be changed, or the photos can be what? Like you have taken some photo, it can be done into black and white. What that term is called, I forgot. So this can be done using a real-time sketch with OpenCV. So how this can be done? Just go here. Like you can see, the content is written here. Exact aim of the problem statement is written here. The requirements is also written here. Python and OpenCV Python. You have to use that using pip install OpenCV Python. Like pip is Python packaging index. For that, you use pip. We also use Conda, which is the Anaconda package, which is the largest distribution of Python currently available. So I have also my package here. Like Eduelgo has its package on pip install Eduelgo. You can do that, or you can just search Eduelgo so that you will get the package. So that is my package, and that is available as open source. So you have to do that, and all the codes are given here. All the live videos are, sorry. This is the code for recording live video. Okay, you may need to have some capture card if the video length is more, or you have to perform, or else the model training will take some more time. Okay. Uh, Now this is written here, so I can go there and check that. Now one thing I must tell you: do not copy code from here or from anywhere, from any YouTube channel or from any, I mean, from any internet. Why? Because you can definitely make one project that everyone is doing using some libraries, but that will not help you. Neither will help you in any interview, because as I said, resume has only 6 to 15 second priority. Everyone is going to judge you on the basis of the problem that you are solving, on the basis of the model that you are training, or model that you are developing. So try to do stuff by your own. If you are getting some doubt, try to get some mentor. Like yesterday, Harsh also said you, told you that try to get some mentor who can just mentor you in all this stuff. And you can find mentors easily in our AIML club. Okay, there are some good mentors here. Now the next thing is Hall of Fame. This is very important because you have seen that cybersecurity guys get a lot of Hall of Fame. So the DS Algo guys also get a lot of Hall of Fame in CodeSep and a lot of stuff which I don't know. But in Docsip also you have a whole option. If you have performing well in the, well in the community challenges, hiring challenges, then your photo will be there here, and you can send directly this directly your Docsip profile to anyone who is hiring for data science, because we have a good reputation in the industry, not only in India but also in Singapore. Like we have recently moved out to Singapore, so you can also send this directly, send this profile directly to any recruiter, and they will be considering you. Okay. Now there are some pre-trained models, like you have seen in my profile. I will show you again. Like you have seen in my profile, I have something called as the developer pass, which I got as a director. So this pass can help you to publish your own models. Like you have performed some research in the performed some research here. Here in your college, like in your third year, fourth year, and you have developed one model. Now you can sell that model. Okay, you can sell that model to all the stuff that are all the companies that are in need of this model, and can earn money. Like I have the registration here, I have the developer pass here, so I can upload my own AI model, and I can sell that. So this thing is can be also done, in our platform. So you, as a beginner, you may not be able to do that. Like you can see, only 73 models are available. Like we have a lot of we have more than 1 million users, so but only 73 models are available, because developing your own model is not easy. Like I said, you can do anything using the existing libraries like scikit-learn and TensorFlow, but that may not help you. Okay. Okay, so finally, that is gems, and these gems can be earned by submitting something, and these are the money that you may have to pay if you want to buy gems. You don't have to buy gems; you can participate in the community challenges and hiring challenges. So this is all about the platform Doxit, as they are our sponsors and they are giving us something. Like you will be the winners will be getting some t-shirts from our side, from the side of Doxit, and you guys will be getting something more, like mentions in our social media profiles. We are very much active on LinkedIn. Doxit is very much active, post contents regularly. We have a lot of research going on as in our company. A lot of AI research is going on. A lot of other stuff is going. Like you have seen this AI employability index partner. So we are just developing some models here as well for to make this automated by AI. So that will be launched later in winter, I guess. So we'll be doing that. That is something for this platform. Like I am the director there, so I thought I should tell you about this platform. It's freely available if someone is trying to learn machine learning. So that can be you can do that here. Now I've told you that I will show you my resume, that 6 second to 15-second part. So this is my resume available on Docsip, and it's 6 months old. I have not made my resume in last 6 months. So let me zoom that. Like so, I've written just 2 lines about me and my skills at the at the top of the resume. Why? Because someone will see the skills first and will choose you for the interview. Okay. After that, they will be looking at your CGPA. Okay, my current CGPA is higher, but this is my 6 month old CGPA. When the results are not out, my current CGPA is around 9.8, I guess. So that will be the current CGPA. And here that I have worked somewhere, that written you where I have worked. And regarding machine learning, I've worked as a machine learning developer, Python and machine learning developer in one of the startups. And also I've worked as a data analytics and research intern in one of the startups. So these two are for the machine learning perspective. And there are some projects, like I've said, I have my own package that is EduElgo, that's available in the internet. So you can just take that. And these are my projects. And the projects need not to be so much amazing because you are a fresher. Okay. No one is expecting you to make Google in your college. Make some projects and try to communicate your project's ideas properly with your mentor or your interview people who are taking your interviews. That is more important. It's not important to develop a very big project of very what I can say, if you are trying to develop Google in college days, then what I can say then. So these are the achievements. These are 6 month old achievements. Very old achievements that I've got. Some achievements, not more. And there are some courses that I have taken. These courses are important because the interviewers whom you are interviewing with may have taken these courses. Because if someone is hiring you for machine learning, then they may have taken these basic courses, because these are the premier courses available on the internet. So you may take these courses. They are I mean costly. We got that because of the college, because college provided us that. So we have taken that, and some of the conferences that are part of the International Summit on Data Science and AI in IT Matters as a part of that, as a participant, not as a speaker. So all this stuff you have mentioned in the resume. So this resume is properly maintained. Okay, now the 6-month-old resume, so something I have not mentioned, and you can see the language here. I have worked with the OpenGenius Foundation, which is one of the largest open source company in Japan. So as a data structure and algorithm developer intern, so you have seen that design and develop different algorithm solutions, but you can see the language. I am not telling what I am doing here. I've just told that what I've done here. I have said this in a tone of achievement that I have designed and developed different algorithm solutions for classical problems. Like I've done some basic research about the graph related problems, all the map stuff and all other stuff you see in Google Maps and all that. That all is done in the graph problem, like the shortest path algorithm, and I've devised two new algorithms. Not the two new algorithms, but they are already present. I've worked with someone from the Tokyo University. Okay, so we have done something there for the graph algorithms and stuff. So that is I have explained here, and this should be how your resume look like. You may make some better resume. There are better resume available as well. I'm just showing you because I wanted to show you. So now you guys can ask a few questions to me regarding the dogship and regarding if you have some more thing to learn. If you want to learn something more, you can say that. Any doubt, guys? On Kitsing, those packages that you said are yours, you made. Not all the packages. The Eduelgo package that I said, they are mine. I wrote them, I made them. I am also the maintainer, and there is a developer team also which works on the package. So that is mine. Anything else, guys, that you want to know about the platform? If someone want to ask something, please ask.
Can I ask by turning audio on?
Please ask in chat section, Ankit. Oh, Ankit, actually, I did not know any language when I was in 12th. Because I had my optional as statistics, which I am also a topper of my state. But I did not have any programming language knowledge. I started after JEE, after I qualified JEE. I mean, you guys may know what's JEE. And when I got admitted here, I knew only C and C++. After that, I've learned Python and I done a lot of stuff. So there is something personal. I should not ask that in live sessions at least because this session will be uploaded on YouTube. Right? How much experience is required to start at Doxip? This answer is similar to how much experience you require to start with a basic machine learning project, basic machine learning model. So two things you need to know. First, how to write code in Python. That is very much important. Most of the people just copy the code, and I do not like that. Do not try to copy code the Python code from internet. First, try to know how to write Python code and try to learn DSA, data structure algorithm. Do not leave that topic because I know all the machine learning people who are here, they do not use DSA much more because, but in the industry, they have to use that DSA. That is very much important DSA. So you have to do that. These are the first thing. And the second, you have to know some basic mathematics like calculus, linear algebra, mostly the matrices subject, the matrix subject. That is very much important in computer vision as well. And all the things that you have learned till now, like I mean, like finding the adjacent of the matrix, finding the transpose of the matrix, they have direct implementation in the basic core algorithms of computer vision. And like you have seen the cat photo problem, the matrix is very much important, and that is done using multidimensional array. So you should also know the DSA, data structure algorithm. So these two things are basic. After that, you have to learn specific libraries like the scikit-learn, Subham has said, TensorFlow also Subham has said. These specific libraries you have to learn. After that, you can start on Doxip. So this is a long procedure. It's not like you have to first learn and then start up. You can start up and you can also learn. I mean, learn by doing. I also prefer that, learn by doing. Anything else, guys? Because the season has been long. If you want to ask something, without DSC, can we start? Prasant, what do you want to start without DSC? I mean, I did not understand. I mean, you want to start learning ML, machine. Of course, you can start without DSC. I mean, we did not have DSC when we started learning, but we learned that properly. DSC is something that is going to help you from a community perspective. You will be meeting a lot of people, like you will be meeting me, you will be meeting Abhishek sir. Like, why I'm saying this? Abhishek sir, he has done some proper research in a lot of stuff, and he has done some good internships in top IIITs and NITs. So he can guide you on research aspects, how to take how to read research paper, how to write them, how to review them. Dipesh sir and Rui ma'am is present here. They have just made one new machine learning model 2 months earlier for their minor project, which also won one hackathon. So why to be a part of DSC? Just to find some amazing people who can actually guide you, because we are all a beginners. I'm also a beginner, but I know a little bit more than you because I have been here for the 2 years. Now Abhishek sir and other people have been here for the 3 years, so they know things better than me. So they will be teaching that, and you will be getting some community support. So DSC is going to push you. DSC is not going to teach you on how to do the stuff. If you are doing something, we are here to help. I think that is clear. Okay, I think there are no more doubts. So we'll be ending this session. Abhishek sir, you can take over. Oh, yeah, one question is there. What language you started with? The language is LaTeX. LaTeX is a language to write mathematics equations. I started with LaTeX, learned C, and after that, I did not learn C so much, only for 1 week. After that, I jumped to C++. But do not do that. I did that because I have some experience with C. Then after that, I learned Python in the way. And now I know around 4 to 5 languages properly. So you can just do that. Take Abhishek sir, you can take over.
Okay, thank you so much, Abhijit. I think this now session is over, and you can leave the session. And please come for the tomorrow session, which is very important, last session of the workshop. Okay, I think you will get an insight of AI, ML, and Oxship, everything. Okay, so you can use this stuff in your research field, in your, like, if you want to grow your skill or anything. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We are here to solve the doubt. Okay, thank you so much, everyone.